Hey folks, welcome back to the iPhone Roundup podcast. I'm your host, Nick the Dude. Thanks so much for tuning in. On the iPhone Roundup podcast, we find the best games on the iTunes App Store and give you the rundown on what's worth playing each and every week. Best way to support this show is by subscribing via iTunes or YouTube. You can also link or embed our show on your blog, Twitter, or Facebook page. On this week's show, we've got an in-depth look at Drop7, a new puzzle game that does quite a number on your free time. In our weekly word game slot, we've got the difficult to say but easy to play Word Warp. And rounding out this week's show, we take bite-sized looks at Bugz Lite, Kamikaze Robots Free, and L-Tycoon. And with that, let's take a look at the games. If you value your spare time, you may just want to skip right past this review, because Drop7 is one of the best and most addicting puzzle games I've played in a very long time. I've heard it described as Tetris meets Sudoku, but that's a bit of a misnomer. The mechanics are largely based on number values, but the whole Sudoku, one number of each value in each row, column, and square thing never enters into it. The way it works is you drop numbered discs into a 7x7 grid, and discs disappear when its number matches the amount of discs in its current row or column. If it sounds confusing, it's really not. You'll pick it up very quickly and probably be late to wherever you were headed before you sat down to play. Learning the basics is one thing, but there's a tremendous amount of depth and sophistication lurking just below the surface. If it was all just numbered discs, that would be too easy, right? Well, there's also gray discs without numbers that you have to grind down to reveal what number value the gray is hiding. You do this by making numbered discs adjacent to the gray discs disappear, which eventually erode the gray covering to reveal a hidden number. One of the great things about Drop7 is that there is no time limit. Players can take their time to strategize and scrutinize the placement of each disc. And with a global high score as well as a Facebook Friends leaderboard at stake, you better not rush things. Drop7's art style and sound effects combine to give the game a unique voice, and I'm hard pressed to think of a way to make the game any better than it already is. Drop7 sells for $2.99, but if you're still not sold, check out the free version, which is sans leaderboards and only has the standard normal mode. Unlike Drop7, Word Warp doesn't offer much in the way of an innovative gaming experience, but that by no means translates into a boring game. Word Warp is a traditional game of how many words can you make out of these 6 letters. You know, that old puzzle game in the newspaper that you passed over about 1,000,000 times because you were afraid of being bored to death? Honestly, I'm not sure what makes Word Warp so cool and the newspaper version so lame, but I find myself playing the digital version a heck of a lot lately. The game keeps score, but I'm at a loss to explain exactly how it's tallied. Doesn't seem to matter too much though, because there's no online leaderboards or anything like that. Word Warp is 99 cents, and there's a free version available that's exactly the same thing, except there are ads between games. If you've ever played games like Boomshine or Every Extend Extra, you already know what Bugz Lite is all about. For everyone else, Bugz Lite is a game where you try to cause a chain reaction of exploding ladybugs, but in a very cute way. You touch where you want the first explosion to go off, then any bug who touches that explosion will blow up, and his explosion will hopefully cause more bugs to explode, and so on. Games like this are really viscerally satisfying. Seeing the intricate chain reactions that occur is quite soothing, and the art style and particle animation in Bugz Lite plays into the whole mellowness aspect. Bugz Lite is free, and Bugz, the full version, is 99 cents, and offers more levels and a little more depth. Kamikaze Robots Free is a game about racing robots who bounce their way down a mountain, and usually lose a limb or two on the way. Makes total sense, right? Well, it's not the most intricate of setups for a game, but it's a fun distraction and probably worth a look if you're at all interested. The main mechanic is that you can slow your robot's rotation by touching the screen, and you're trying to get it to land at the perfect angle to launch it toward the finish line. Along with this, there are some role-playing aspects that add some depth and strategy to what is a very simplistic game. Kamikaze Robots Free is, well, it's free, and if you get into it, check out the full featured version for $2.99. I know you folks probably think I'm nuts for recommending 2 Juice Tycoon games in 2 consecutive shows. Heck, you probably didn't even know there were 2 Juice Tycoon games out there. Well, I make no apologies for my love of all things Tycoon. I think it all goes back to my days and months spent playing SimCity games. But jokes aside, for me, L-Tycoon from Electronic Arts really hits the sweet spot of complexity for a sim-type game on a handheld. Last week's game, Fruit Juice Tycoon, was more about micromanagement. L-Tycoon is more macro style, i.e. no serving customers, grinding juice, etc. But check out what you can do. You set your prices, dial in your lemonade recipe down to the ice cube to see how much each unit costs you. Set your marketing budget, choose what location to rent, upgrade your equipment, and hire any needed personnel. You can also get feedback from customers by tapping on their thought bubbles. Lemonade Tycoon is fully ad supported and is 100% free. Alright folks, that is our show for this week. Thank you so much for watching and supporting us. You can get show updates at twitter.com/iPhoneRoundup, and you can email questions, comments, or suggestions to iPhoneRoundup@gmail.com. Also, if you're a developer, send promo codes to your game to that same email address, and we may review it on the show. Thanks a lot, and I hope to see you next week.